Hey, okay, just wrapped up filming. Felt a little awkward in all honesty. I'll look at the video and see how we did. Yeah, but if it's terrible, I'll just delete it and I'll start over. But I hope I got most of the points. Okay, there was a slight delay in opening up the camera this morning. The new big boss, the director, Paul is director, and he came over, and I was careful to turn as I was setting up my stuff that I wasn't catching him in the background without his express permission. He didn't mind, but I didn't film him anyways, and he came by and we chatted. His English and my Thai are roughly equivalent, and we chatted back and forth just in Tanglish. Just every other word was either English or Thai, and it worked out great. So he's a very nice person, huge upgrade for the facility in my opinion. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about is I see three broad categories of marriage here, and whether you have a ceremony or not, or register the marriage or not, it's the marriage dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for. Three broad categories of marriage dynamic. And this is from the Thais, and then we invariably, or typically, let's think about this. I think almost always, let's work through it together and see what we come up with. But we tend to fall into one of these categories as well, because that's how they do it here. So the first one I'll start with, which I've seen a few times now, and I've seen up close and personal just a couple times, but the first category would be you get the wealthier, older guy with the more generally significantly younger, very pretty lady. See that a lot with the Thais and Thai culture, and obviously that's a common one that we can fall into, although typically not quite the same way. I'll try and parse that out. And then the next one is, I see this with the government employees a lot. Now, as an aside, they tend to register their marriages much more commonly. That's what I see. A lot of the registered marriages I see are these people, they both have degrees. They've both gone and pursued professional careers. They're doing the double income thing, kind of like what we do in the States, which, I don't know if it's good or bad for them, but they do that a lot. And that is a little more Western style. That is, you'll see them sharing expenses, you don't have it could be the man or the woman. I see it really kind of both ways. Maybe even the woman being the leader, maybe 60-40, 60 in favor of the woman being the leader between the pair in terms of where they're going to dinner, when, and how they're spending money and what kind of car they're buying. There could be a bias on my part because I'm mostly engaged through the female side of the relationship, because through Fawn. I don't have a lot of pals that are Thai guys. I get invited to stuff and I go sometimes, and I'm getting very good fair treatment. In fact, to that end, I just had a Thai man who I would call an acquaintance, or in my circle of friends somehow, however you want to say that, and he did the drawings for our house, which I'll be showing soon, and he absolutely refused to charge me the going rate, and I ended up getting, he charged me Song Mun Song Pan, so 22,000 baht, and the going rate is about 40 to 50,000, and the other guy that I got a quote from, he was going to be in the 60 to 70,000 range. So, tremendous deal. And he absolutely wouldn't take any more money. I offered to give him an advance 3 times prior, wouldn't accept any money. And his girlfriend, I guess I'd say his girlfriend, was there, and they were both waving their hands like, no, no, no. I feel like I'm really getting about as immersed as I'm capable of doing, and probably about as immersed as I want to be. And I don't mean that as a negative a connotation on anyone. I'm about where I'd like to be, and that makes me happy. Isn't that nice? So you get the people sharing dynamic of a Western style, and then you get going kind of. I've kind of done this in descending order of wealth for some reason. Then you get the village and the rural and the non-college educated household. And I'm not looking down on anybody in the West who is or isn't what degree you have. It doesn't mean a lick of difference, okay? We're just going through the dynamics here, all right? And In those cases, then you more commonly see where the man is just pretty much invariably the dictator, and the women turn their salaries over to the guy to support him. In these types of dynamics, when it gets on my radar, and I don't know if it's really this common or not, it feels really common, but all I can say is when it does get in my radar, I see that the guys often have a bit of a problem with excessive alcohol intake and not treating the wife very nicely, in my opinion. I hear a lot about domestic violence issues and a lot of alcohol abuse, whatever, and there's a whole stereotype there, which is not going to obviously always apply. And I can't tell you how common it is, because I tend to just notice it when it's become egregious, and then that's not a good situation. So, but I don't know how common that is. All right, so. So where do we fit in? So you're dating here in Thailand, and you're looking for a wife or a partner of some kind. You're not going to get the last one. The woman who's going to go and work and turn over all her money to you. I mean, I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but you don't. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. Generally, my thinking, and this is a video where I'm just sharing my opinion and my thoughts. I mean, and you're totally, this one I really invite you to disagree with me for what's good for you, I think. But I think the first one's kind of where we want to plug in, where we tend to date much younger and much more attractive ladies. We tend to be quite wealthy here. Again, where I live in the Isan region. You're going to get that. I stick out like a sore thumb here. I don't blend physically. I don't blend in by my appearance at all. And the things that I'm able to buy, which I've been letting myself off the leash a little bit, enjoying myself now that the surgery has been more successful. I don't know how far I'm going to heal or not, but I've healed to the point where I can move and do and sit and stand and walk in significantly less discomfort. Do I have to be careful? Yeah. Do I have to watch this for the rest of my life? Yes. But now I'm able to move and do stuff. Isn't this nice? So, and it's been a long time since I've been able to, so I'm enjoying myself. But when I do that, then it does become a bit of a display of wealth. Now, it's not intentional, but if I go on a nice vacation with Fawn, or I take her to a 4-star hotel for the weekend in Kolat, which again, my favorite place is the Cantery. I'll try to remember to put it on the screen. It really is a killer hotel. One of the King's younger sisters stays there whenever she's in town. That's like her hotel. And boy, is the security awesome when she's around. There's never a security issue in Kolat anyways that I've ever heard of. But so when I do that, it becomes a display of wealth, and it is what it is. But that's, I think, the better way to engage. Now, the sharing thing is certainly not a bad way to go, too. And Fawn and I do have some percentage of our relationship is like that, because she is well educated, and she is I would say, a highly intelligent person. She's extremely resourceful and helpful for me. And so by default, she ends up suggesting things, making appointments for me and stuff, which becomes less subservient, and on the shades of gray moves her over towards some shade of a leadership position of a sort, although I'm careful, and she seems to really prefer it. I mean, really prefer it. And I'm careful to then say, okay, I'll make the choice. This is the choice, and that's that. And generally she offers it to me that way. But I make sure to kind of keep it that way, because like I've said before, I've made poor choices in the past. I've given up excessive amounts of control in my life, and it's just gone badly. And I'm a big believer in human nature is what it is, and it isn't always great, right? And so it's just better to keep this train on the tracks, and that's just how I do it. Now, she's super happy, and she loves it because I've elevated her life, because it's relatively easy for me to do, because comparatively I'm massively wealthy here. I'm on 2 pensions, which is a fortunate position to be in. I've got one friend here who he's on 4 pensions. Most guys are on 1. Although 2 or 3 isn't uncommon. I will tell you, I'm amazed at how many people have got at least 2 pensions. I never would have thought until I got serious about getting into my retirement, and it was like, then you hear about that stuff more. You're listening more for it, I suppose. But anyways, so you've got kind of those 3 relationships, and the lower class one, just, it's an ugly term, but it is what it is, that you see particularly out here in the rural sections of the Isan region where I live, which is, again, probably can't say probably. It's possibly the lowest cost region in Thailand to live. Certainly, it's one of the lowest cost. And again, on that probably lower cost. A friend of mine lives in Vietnam now, but he spent a year here in Thailand, and we compare notes every week, almost every day. And he's a close friend. I talk to him all the time. And so I have a lot of information on what things cost in Vietnam. And we've really settled on the fact that it's less expensive to live here than in nearly anywhere in Vietnam. So all this, what country's cheaper or not, it seems like you're just better off to find a lower cost area of Thailand if you want to keep the infrastructure and all that. Because he's got to deal with a lot of crummy roads, and very few people can afford cars, so the streets are clogged with motorcycles, and not nice ones like I like. I mean, these little tiny things, they're all over the place. And he says it's really inconvenient to get around, and it's very difficult to cross the street anywhere. So, whatever. But those are the three big ones, and I think that when you come here and you're looking to kind of settle down with somebody and check that out for yourself, I think it's smart to try to assess what the ladies you're dating are kind of looking for, and think to yourself as to, well, how would that be on your end, and you can always and there's this concept of having a woman live in your life or you live in her life and all that, and you can assess that for yourself. But I'll tell you, the moment that a Thai woman's mother calls her for a family emergency of any kind and for any duration, she generally will come. So no matter what you're doing, I would say check out her village. And you marry a lady, we all know by now, you marry the family, and that's double true here. And I would check all that out before you get super excited about one particular lady. Well, I'm just going to move her to Phuket. You're on a big budget. You've got a giant pension. You're going to go, and that's great. But if the mom calls, she'll be going. So you need to understand that day could come, and it could come any time. Now, we just had a tenant that we got into Fawn's rental room number 5, and got them all situated. They want to stay long term. There were some investments made into to that room to make it nicer for them, that they agreed to a little higher rent, so a long-term situation. And then yesterday, Fawn got the notice. Her mom called her. There's her mom's sick. She's done. She's gone. She leaves in 2 days. She leaves permanently. And now Fawn's got to clean up the room again, touch up the paint, clean up the yard a little bit, and put it back up for rent. Not a big deal, but it evidences, and this happens all the time. This is about the third tenant that's had a family emergency, and then they're gone by dawn. So that's definitely a thing here. And I think that will pertain no matter which of these other categories. You're going to do the rich guy with the younger pretty lady thing. And again, Fawn and I I'm going to call us half and half of that and the government people sharing everything together. We're kind of right in the middle, and I like that. And I do like her life as a fit, where she has her good government job, and she makes enough money to do all the heavy lifting financially, supporting her boys. So I'm not paying for all that, because I honestly would resent that. I wouldn't want to, that'd be like $1,000 a month or something, and I'm not interested in doing that. That's too much. I wouldn't do. So she does that, and I help a little with that, and that just works out great. Chai, soup, sip, soup, sip. Somebody's coming. Oh. Here.
Hello, everybody.
We're just chilling here. Got a little bit of time. I'm going to paddle along with her where she's got some errands to do. And then my back isn't fully fused yet. The bone's still hardening up. So she begged me to not ride my motorcycle to the city today to do the car. So I said, okay, fine. So I think technically I've got 3 more weeks to wait until the doc says that bone is not going to go anywhere. So, and I'll tell you this, Greg, I am feeling a lot better. But anyway, so there's kind of 3 ways they do it. I'm sure there's a million shades of gray and a million versions, because there's 71 million Thais here in Thailand, or nearly. Well, that's what I see. And I think if you can keep your relationship into one of those Thai categories, and in a Thai more dynamic, versus just you paying for everything, and I think you'll get more loyalty and care if you get into a dynamic that your fiancée, girlfriend, or wife is going to understand, and that's similar to that of some of her friends, versus becoming some shade of gray of a pay for play, which I see commonly. And Fawn always kind of points it out to me. You can kind of generally see because the woman is just not interested in anything the guy's doing. She might be sitting next to him, but they are like, if you look at the body language, they're like two worlds. Versus if you see Fawn and I out together, it's real obvious we're a pair and there's interest. I'm just going to break in for a second here and say that if your relationship dynamic falls into the you paying for everything and it walks and quacks kind of like a pay for play, whether or not that's your intent, and again, it matters not to me what anyone else chooses, but if your Thai family, your fiancée, girlfriend, wife, whatever identifies it as that, I think you really run a great risk of falling into that kind of dynamic, and there's no long-term care in that dynamic. And I'll tell you, I really like that. I like that there's a real love and affection on her part. It feels good, not to be a softie or a marshmallow or something, but it feels good. And to me, that evidences a more real relationship where I am getting loyalty. There's been some, further on that, there's been some trouble within some people close to her. I really can't say who. You can probably make some guesses, but some people that are very close to her, like Thais are known to be very close to their families, for example. And Fawn immediately, and nothing's being directed at me, but I'm in the fray, I'm in the mix because I'm there. And Fawn immediately makes it very clear she's Team Robb. And to a level that's almost a little surprising, but I do believe her. And she speaks with her actions, not just with her words in this. And it really got on my radar with that if I was doing a pay for play or if I was just bossing her around and throwing some money at her, she wouldn't be doing that. I can tell you she wouldn't be doing that. Can I guarantee a woman you'll be dating wouldn't do that? No, but I can guarantee you she's doing it that way. And it's nice. Versus what I see when I do some of my trips to the city and I'll go to an expat bar. I think it's almost kind of rare, honestly, to see a real couples dynamic with a mixed couple of a foreign guy and a Thai woman, to see a real, more authentic dynamic. To me, it comes across as kind of rare. I've seen it. I've been in a coffee shop, ended up getting into a really cool conversation with a guy. I made a video about it. The video of, two Thai women and an expat drop a bombshell or something like that. That was all based on a long conversation with him and his Thai wife. And they were absolutely in this tied together dynamic. And versus a lot of times if I'll talk to an expat, a brief conversation generally, you can get dragged into an unpleasant conversation pretty easily, unfortunately. But the Thai woman generally just kind of clocks out and just sits there and doesn't do anything. They're listening to what you're saying, and they're probably understanding what you're saying, but they're just not going to comment. It's a very different dynamic. I like having, even though I like all my own time and I'm kind of a loner and all that, whatever you want to call, it is nice having that reality there, even though I am still portable. All of my serious assets are tied to me and me only and move with me wherever I go or have to go on any kind of moment's notice. The only thing that I'm leaving that I would lose would be the house, and I'm somewhat trepidatious about engaging in that project. In all honesty, I still am, because I can't know that I'll own it long term like I would back in the U.S. And it would kind of be a drag to get, have to be that invested in terms of designing it and paying for it and living through the construction process, which is borderline traumatizing at home and is going to be much more so here. I already know that. But I guess, I don't know, that I don't have a choice. If you invest in any way in any kind of real estate here, you just have to know you can be separated from it against your will just about any time. That's just the reality here. And Thailand's open about that. They're open about you're a foreigner and you're not allowed to own land. Now there are a couple ways. I talk about it in the book a little more detail, but it's never really sure. And I talk about why in the book as well. You never really, my opinion, I don't think you can ever really know that you're owning hardly anything here, other than a vehicle seems to stay with you. If you pay cash and there's no loan on a motorcycle or a car, it's registered in your name, that I think is yours. And that's the only other asset that I have here. to recap a little bit, so you've got these three categories. I see the real strong leader leading from authority with wealth and age advantage and all that. And he's just got this very pretty lady that wants a more privileged life, and you know, some of them will love the guy true, and some are not going, and you're going to have to sort that out. I see the Western style professional people here sharing Western style relationship, which is interesting. I didn't really know that was so common here, but I definitely see it all the time. And then you've got where a lot of the famous relationship that the guys read about or hear about on the internet, I'm sure a lot, is where the woman works for the man, basically gives her salary to him. And those are the guys that then tell their wife to go, or their girlfriend or whatever, to go and find a foreign husband and then have him give her a salary, and she turns around and gives that salary to him. He's the real husband, you're not. Even if you register your marriage and buy a condo with her and all that, then those are the real bad stories kind of come from, I think, more that end of it. Just in my opinion, I have no way to statistically tell you what percentage of what is what here. I could never tell you. But certainly that's something I spend a lot of time warning guys about in my book. You can read all about that in the third edition of my book, which is, I went to a pretty deep dive in all that because I had some new information that was better. And it's a major rewrite, and it's really to the point. And I pulled the punches even less this time around, in fairness, just to be as absolutely as accurate and fair as possible. Thanks. Cue the gratuitous tuk-tuk footage. A little better view there. These are always fun, and they're actually, the seat's pretty comfortable. Nothing to see here, just a couple of people walking through Bangkok. She's planning our route. We're going to Hemingway's. Love the name. Big fan of the books. Read 4 or 5 of his books. They're all awesome. Bangkok sure has a lot of color and flavor. You don't need me to tell you that. But feeling pretty good today. What can you do? Look at that. Crazy. You would not want to drive in Bangkok. No. Starbucks everywhere. Hey bud, the Philippine cigar is actually pretty good. It's insanely cheap. I will get a few. I mean, I'm still just getting it broken in, but it's good. It's not bitter or anything. I'm with Kevin. We're just hanging at this Hemingway's pub restaurant in Bangkok, and there you go. New girlfriend for you. Just left Hemingway's for dinner. And now we're walking down the street or something. I don't know. It's after 9 o'clock. I'm out late. I'm dead tired though. I gotta go to bed soon. I can never make it till 10. I can't do it anymore. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. If you've watched this far, please consider hitting like and subscribe.